Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Marion County Espresso TV. I'm your host, Steve Woodhouse. Joining me today is Captain Paul Haase with the Pella Police Department. Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having us.
So it's been a very busy time for the PD. Well, there's never really an easy time for the PD, but I know you're getting ready for tulip time and all the public safety measures that go into that. So tell us what we can expect.
Yeah, spring is a great time in Pella. It's a very busy time for us from a public safety side of things, bringing in thousands of extra people, not just the weekend of tulip time, but every weekend leading up to tulip time kind of gets that ball rolling with that. So public safety is obviously one of our main priorities at the department, and making sure that not just that event, but the weeks leading up to it, that we're all prepared, and that public safety as a whole is prepared, meaning the police and fire and ambulance working together, making those plans, and also our partners at Marion County Sheriff's Office and the Iowa State Patrol and other outside entities that we work with leading up to that event. Emergency management, Marion County Emergency Management is a huge partner for that event as well, of preparing for the worst and but hoping for the best is always, but that preparation and that planning side of things is almost a year-long portion. The steering committee always talks that they start planning for the next tulip time on Sunday after tulip time ends. And from a public safety perspective, we kind of start doing that too. We see what went well the year before and what we can do to put into place to make the next year safer, maybe help traffic move quicker. Obviously, there's always a lot of traffic, and that's always a challenge, but are there ways that we could maybe help it work more efficiently? Pedestrians. Are pedestrians crossing in spots that maybe they shouldn't, or in areas that could use a little more traffic control? So we kind of look at those at the end of last year, and then we try and implement those for the next year, or work on that, how we can make that better. So it's always an ongoing process, but it's certainly an exciting time for us as well at the police department.
And there's just so many aspects of it. I mean, there are weather things you can't control. You know, there's possible for counterfeit bills going around the vendors, and there's just so many things that could go wrong. And yeah, you guys always handle it spectacularly. Thankfully, we don't have a lot go wrong. It doesn't seem like, but yeah. Thank you for that. We work really hard to during that weekend to make sure it runs as smooth as possible. Again, it's not just the police department. The city of Pella does a tremendous amount of work. The parks and public works help us out a lot. Just the overall general city of Pella, meaning all the citizens of Pella, come out and help that event as well. The steering committee, obviously the event couldn't happen without their leadership, and they're great partners of ours. So that side of it is, but there are things that we can't quite control necessarily from a police department side. Weather is always that big challenge. We've had a handful of tornado warnings or watches issued during tulip times. We've had torrential rain. We've had days that it was supposed to rain that it doesn't. The weather's hard to predict, and obviously public safety side of things, we work very closely with the steering committee, the National Weather Service, does it look like it might be severe, or could it be severe enough that we have to cancel some events? So, we always lean on the side of caution in that sense. Obviously, we want every parade, all 6 parades to go off without a hitch, but sometimes it requires we have to cancel a parade or cancel some of the parts of the events for that public safety side. I think one thing that people sometimes forget is that there's thousands of extra people in the city of Pella during that evening parade or that afternoon parade, and trying to find a place for them to seek shelter or to evacuate an area is not something that can be done in minutes. It's something that takes a substantial amount of time. So if those weather predictions are showing something that could cause an issue later in the day, sometimes that caution is better to take in than to have an incident occur when we're trying to find shelter for that many people. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And obviously, beyond tulip time, you guys have a new program. You want to share more about that? Yeah.
So one of our one of the really neat things that we started just at the we started planning for it at the end of last fiscal year in July last summer. We started planning for it, and that was to bring on a mental health officer within the department who will be a co-responder team with a mental health professional. It'll be a 2-person team that we're able to send to whether it's a person having crisis, whether it's a crime victim that might need a bit more care. We have that mental health professional and our trained officer to co-respond to that. So that kind of got up and running in January. We're still awaiting our mental health professional to come on board, but I understand that will be happening soon, and we're really excited to get that all put together. But Brandon Hoosman is an officer with our department that has taken on that role as our mental health professional or mental health officer, and we've already seen a lot of great things. We've had some, people that are experiencing that crisis, whether it's suicide or a mental health issue that, schizophrenia or depression or bipolar disorder, any of those that it's not necessarily something that they're not committing a crime, but it's somebody that maybe needs a little more care, or needs that additional attention, or needs that additional assistance. Officer Hoosman has made contacts with other providers in the area, again, the Well, Crossroads, and so many other organizations around our area that work with us on these things. When we have an incident like this or a case like this, that they're able to get the person help and avoid bringing them to jail or just leaving them at the hospital. Those are some of the challenges with mental health calls that law enforcement has now. Is what do you do with that person that's in crisis, that might be a danger to themselves, but where do we go? Where do they go? What do we do with them? And so having a team dedicated to that and that has the resources to manage that really is a great benefit to our community and to the department, but certainly to the community of having the professionals to handle those types of calls. It's really great.
And where do they go? I mean, do we have enough mental health facilities these days in the area to?
It is still a challenge. Finding beds is always a challenge, especially if they might have a possible tendency for violence or something like that, or they're just not quite stable enough to go in. Finding the facility that is equipped to handle a patient like that is still challenging, and it's an ongoing challenge. And again, great partners at Pella Regional Health Center that we work with regularly on in their ER department of how to mitigate some of those things, how to keep their staff safe, how to make it safe for the person that we're bringing there. Again, police, over the years, we've found that we just can't be on an island by ourselves. We have to have partners. Right. We have to have people that we work with, and mental health is certainly one of those areas where we need help from the outside, and having those resources in place that can help us has proven to be a great benefit for us.
And so how often would you say you have to call out the mental health team?
So the team is, they work what I would say regular business hours is kind of their general hours, but they several times a day they are able to go and make connections, whether that's from an incident that happened the day before, the night before, or it's just a follow-up with maybe a crime victim or somebody else that was that had a mental health issue that day or previously, and it also allows them to go out. Say we had a week ago we had an incident with somebody that was suicidal. It now allows that officer to know who that is and to maybe follow up with that person 3 or 4 days later and say, hey, how's things going? Do you need any other help? Hopefully to make that connection and avert that crisis in the future by offering resources and meeting with them and finding things to hopefully mitigate what triggered that crisis in their life. So it's been a great program so far. It's been up and running for about 3 months now, and so far it's been running as we planned. We certainly hope to get the team put together and have that additional resource for us, and they're working to do that on the outside. we received a grant for this last year, and that's what's paying for the additional officer. So we didn't lose a patrol officer.
Right.
We were able to gain a patrol officer and put him into the specialty position. So is how that looks.
I don't remember who provided the grant.
So it was originally provided by Heart of Iowa is who. I'm sorry, it was originally provided by Cross, the Cross region.
Mental health region.
region.
Yep.
And then the Cross Mental Health region transferred leadership to Heart of Iowa. And so that's who has been managing it as of recently.
Yeah, Cross, I believe, was absorbed into the heart, or at least Marion County.
Yes, into the Heart of Iowa. Yes, yeah. So as part of that, Officer Haase put together a LOST program, is what it's called. It stands for Loved Ones Safe and Together. It's a program where people can register a family member that maybe has dementia or autism or other medical condition that might cause them to wander or cause them to leave their primary care and maybe not know how to get back to that primary care. They're able to register that person, give us contact information for them, provide a picture so that if somebody shows up in our lobby or somebody calls us and says, hey, there's this person out here at on the square that maybe just something seems off. It allows us to maybe hopefully intervene and quickly reunite them either with that family member or care facility or parent of that person without, again, hoping to mitigate the challenge of finding that person's home as best we can. It also gives us resources and information should that person wander off or get lost, that then we can quickly send that information out to our officers and say, hey, here's a picture that we have of this young person with autism that we can quickly give out to our officers, give out to the community, and say, hey, we're looking for this child or we're looking for this person, and it just kind of helps speed up that process just by a little bit, but it does help. And dealing with lost or missing people, certainly time is of the essence to find that person as quickly as we can. So. I always say, even at tulip time or in other incidents, if we have the person, at least then we know that person is safe.
Yeah.
We can always find their care provider or find a parent or whatever it is. When it's the kid that goes missing or the child that just doesn't know how to, that walks away, or the dementia patient that walks away, those are the ones that can, certainly. Weather and so many other things play a part in that. So it's a brand new program. We've received some information or some participants already, and it's we put it out through the media and through our social media as well. So if people have loved ones that suffer from any of those types of things, give us a call at the police department or stop in and we can get you registered. You can also register on the city website as well.
And how many folks have you gotten registered for that, or just approximation?
I would say right now we're at about 10, I believe. So
That's a good start.
So it's a good start, and as the word gets out, Officer Haase has been doing a great job of getting out to the care facilities and to the churches and schools that probably know who these people are that would be able to help us kind of. Again, get that information to us so that we can put that all together should an incident occur.
And these forms, you brought a copy of it. I assume
Yeah.
it's online. We can find it at the police website.
Yep,
right?
yep. The form is online, or you can pick up a hard copy at the police department as well. So yeah, if you like a pen and paper style.
Excellent, because we just know we have to we have to look out for those children. Well, all children, but
Yes.
and those elderly folks. So
Absolutely, yeah. It's really that community policing side of things that we're so passionate about at the Pella PD, and this is just another one of those programs that it is certainly helpful for us, and it's helpful for the parents, and it's just it's a great way to get that information quickly for our officers and for our communications specialists. To when that call comes in, it is always it's always that panic call of
Right.
my child has gone missing or has walked away or wandered away, or my loved one has wandered away from home. And so again, time is of the essence, and finding that person as quickly as possible. Having additional information certainly helps us tremendously. So yeah, if you know that person or you have that person in your life, certainly sign up with us.
And we could probably put the address, here on the bottom of the, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Excellent. That'll be great.
And so anything more you want to add about that, or be sure to mention?
No, I just think it's a great program, and really looking forward to continuing to build it out. The LOSS program and our mental health co-responder team, building out both of those over the next several years, and I think it'll be a great asset to our agency and to the community of Pella.
Sure will be.
Yeah.
And of course, the communications, which I don't think I praise, your communications department often enough, Marcia and her whole team. But you guys are getting some radio equipment upgraded as well. Can you update us on how that's going?
Yeah. So we continue to work with the radio project, joining the Sarah network. It's very much in the early stages of that. I wouldn't say the early stages of the planning for that, but now that it's been a long time coming project, several years. I believe it's somewhere around 9 to 10 years. It's been in discussions, and it is finally coming to a point where that project will be coming to fruition. So it'll be a great addition to our communications department and the communications in our area for our first responders. It'll greatly improve the ability for officers that are out at the scene, or firefighters or ambulance service workers that are able to get that radio signal out. And again, it's that small percentage of those emergency calls that it really needs to make sure it works. And so it's so having that ability and that capability to quickly communicate and easily communicate and understand what they're saying is essential to the safety of all of the first responders that are out there at whether it's an accident scene, a medical call, or a criminal investigation. So that it's like I said, it's still in the early stages of implementation, but it is certainly coming along, and we're hopeful to get that in these next few months of get that up and running, that new system up and running, and making that switch over. Like you mentioned, Administrative Services Manager Marcia Slycord.
Yeah.
She is much more well versed in that, and Chief McShee as well on that side of the radio project. But it is going to be a great addition to the public safety in our area, and really public safety of many of our partners in the private entities as well, being able to communicate into our dispatch center and communicate just again more efficiently and better with each other. So
Yeah. And I always forget to mute my phone. I'm sorry about that. And you and I emailed, and Chief sent a nice response regarding the hands-free device bill, which Governor Reynolds is probably going to sign, because she pushed for it in her condition of the state address. But what are your thoughts on that? I know law enforcement, including you, have been supportive of that legislation, but is it still a big problem? People getting distracted on phones right now? Or?
Absolutely. Distracted driving it continues to be an issue, and I think it's a great addition to the state code. Compliance is what we really need. Having the law is, seatbelts were for years were not required, and people fought against it when it was going to become a thing of, you can't tell me what to do. It's and it's really for that safety of those other motorists that are out there. Seatbelts for the safety of the person driving in that vehicle. Putting down that phone and paying attention to the roadway increases the safety of the other people on the road with you. And so compliance is really the ultimate goal of all laws in general, but certainly for those that are geared towards safety on the road. So I think it's a great addition to the state to again bring that forward, and it's and I think it will help save lives. It'll help
save lives from those distracted drivers and those accidents that occur. So I think it's a good addition to the state code, and it will be it'll be a benefit and help limit distracted driving on the roadway.
And I know, playing devil's advocate, people can also get distracted by eating a cheeseburger or putting on makeup. But do you see distracted drivers accidents more often caused by phones than any of those other things?
I think so. Just because they're such a more prevalent item that people. Almost everyone has that phone. Almost everyone has a smartphone that can play videos and play programs and text and ring and calls in and all of those things. And again, I don't have the exact stat, but when you take your eyes off the road, even just for that fraction of at 55 miles an hour, that's you're covering several hundred yards during that time. And what can happen during that stretch of time? Does that light change? Does that car pull out in front of you? Does that person back out of that parking spot, whatever it is that you have taken your eyes away from the road and put it onto something else. Certainly, we've had issues with people that have dropped a phone or dropped something and try to reach for it, and those as well. But eating, putting on makeup, changing, whatever it might be in your vehicle, what we really want is people to pay attention to what's on the road in front of them, and that's always our focus when we talk. Whether it's during a step wave for GTSB or just traffic safety in general, is to limit the distractions and pay attention to what's on the road and slow down. All of those things would reduce accidents to almost zero if we could get everyone to do those. Obviously, accidents happen, but if we could get rid of just those three things, it would be it'd be tremendous out on the roadway for sure.
And this spring, of course, we'll be seeing more travelers, getting ready for summer vacations and everything. So just keep your eyes on the road, folks.
Yes,
right?
yes, yep. And the number of cars, again, as it warms up, as those tulips start to pop out of the ground over these next couple weeks, that those certainly Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays and Sundays around the square, around the downtown areas, become very busy. So keep an eye out for people crossing the roads and pulling in and out of parking spaces. And, we get a lot of visitors at that time that might not be familiar with everything downtown. So again, help out your fellow citizens while you're down there as well. But certainly pay attention for them, for other people around the square during this time of year as well.
All right. Well, Paul, I've talked your ear off. It's certainly a busy time for the police, like we've established. But is there anything more you want to touch on today or share with us?
No, again, I always just like to finish with, making sure you wear your seatbelt, making sure you slow down and put down those distractions in the vehicle, whether it is food or a phone or whatever it is. Put down those distractions, and of course, don't drink and drive. That's again a major issue that you control. So make a plan and be prepared for that. So
absolutely. Well, thank you again for taking the time, Paul.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yep. And thank you all for joining us.